Meeting of the Select Board for April 3rd, Tuesday, April 3rd. I'm going to entertain a motion to go into executive session and to reopen in regular session to discuss strategy with respect to litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. Excel Recycling LLC versus the town of Freetown.
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Joes?
Yes.
And Mrs. Pacheco, yes. Okay. All right, so I just want to make mention that we're back from executive session and we are calling the Board of Selectmen's meeting back into order. Before I turn it over, I just want to say thank you to the citizens of Freetown for voting me back in as selectman. I appreciate it. I think that we've accomplished so much in the last X amount of years. I'm not even going to go into that. I don't know too many. But every year we meet with challenges, but we satisfy the way we move the town forward. And I look forward to completing some of the things that we have on task, like the water line, like the police station, and getting the residents happy again. So I do look forward to the challenges, and I look forward to moving the town of Freetown forward, and I thank you all. With that being said, I'd like to entertain a motion to have Robert Joes as the chairperson of the Board of Selectmen, Mr. Charles Sullivan as personnel chair, and myself as the Board of Health chair.
And I'll second that motion.
I guess I'll make that motion.
Oh, well, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes.
Free at last. All right, I'll read the agenda. Today is April 3rd. It is currently 6:15 p.m. As we noted, we were in executive session. We went into executive session, we're back in. Mr. Sullivan did not join us in executive session because of the nature of the material. He was dealing with Excel versus Town of Freetown, and he has recused himself from that. So that was at 5:45. At 6 p.m., reorganization of the board, which we just did. 6 p.m. discussed Finance Committee and Department fiscal year 19 Cultural Council budget, Council of Aging budget, Communication Center budget, and police budget. The consent agenda weekly public discussion, Board of Selectmen to discuss scheduling concerns. Discuss scheduling concern, Excel's license renewal application, and to announce possible vote on proposed after-hours installation of sound equipment. Approve reserve fund transfer request for tree warden personal line item as submitted by tree warden Morris D. Moranville. Sign agreement with Town of Middleborough, administrated by Middleborough Permanent Cable Committee, effective January 1st, 2018 through December 31st, 2018. Discuss vote on allowing Robert Joes, Selectman, representative to vote at the Regional Finance School Committee meeting for a stabilization account proposed by the school, the Freetown Lakeville Regional Schools. Town Administrators Report, discuss open the articles for insertion on the special town meeting and annual town meeting warrants. The Board of Health has nothing on tonight's agenda. The Personnel Board appoints Sarah Valero and Christy Dufort to the Library Planning Committee as recommended by Lucille Rosa, effective April 3rd, 2018. New business, the dates of the upcoming Board of Selectmen's meeting, and executive session we will deal with at the end for negotiations. So it being now past 6 p.m., we can discuss with the Finance Committee and the departments for council. Actually, why don't we take this a little out of order since we have a fairly large crowd here, and we'll go to discuss scheduling concerns concerning Excel licensing renewal application and to announce possible vote on proposed after-hours installation of sound equipment. So in front of us we have a request for to renew the license for Excel Recycling, and we'd like to come up with a couple of dates to schedule the hearing. Actually, it's not a hearing, it's a meeting that we can have the residents voice their concerns. and vote on whether or not to renew the license. Do we have any dates?
So, I think with, the month ahead of us and knowing that, it probably will take more than one meeting, to get things accomplished, I would recommend doing, Monday, April 24th
Okay.
at 6 o'clock at the Freetown Elementary School. And then that way, if we need to carry it over and, have another date, we can do April 27th, as well, with, us to talk, make a decision on the last Monday, which would be, no, we won't be able to do that.
April 24th is a Tuesday.
Yeah, hold on.
Be
I'm looking at
23rd.
the wrong thing, hold on, sorry.
April 23rd, I believe.
April 23rd, with the extension of that Thursday, the following Thursday as an extension, and then we'll be able to do Monday the 30th on our decision.
Okay.
Why don't we just take a vote tonight? Get it over with. I'll vote no.
Duly noted.
Is everybody voting yes?
Yes, can I see your hands for yes? None.
So those dates work. Those dates okay with you, Joe? So why don't we carry those dates, 4/23 and 4/30, with the possibility of an extension of 4/27, I believe you said, if needed.
26 is Thursday, because she.
26, okay. The 26th.
I would also ask that we reach out and ensure that town council is available on those dates, and also a court stenographer to be at that meeting as well.
Duly noted.
The building is.
Is this the peanut gallery?
Okay. We don't need that as a motion, that's,
I'll make that as a motion.
okay. The motion.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Question. Tonight you're gonna have the town council here. What night would that be?
That,
No, this is for that meeting in April.
the 23rd, and probably the 30th. If we need them on the 27th, it'd be the 27th also.
Okay. Because
26th, I'm sorry, 26th.
yeah, the reason I asked the question is, the finance committee has some questions for legal, and maybe we could come at the same date.
This would be a different legal, I think you want Mark Rich, and this would be
Right.
George Pucci, so this
Okay.
would be a different part of legal.
Right. He's our specialist handling this situation. Okay, moving on. You have in front of you the request by the attorneys for the placement of the sound mediation. They're requesting some time to install their sound mediation for 14 days. Do you have any requests or requirements or anything you'd like to see?
Yep, so in front of us, it says that they're looking, to allow the sound barrier walls to go in, around the shredder. And as everybody knows, that this is a requirement of DEP, not of the Board of Selectmen at this point. So this was the big sound barrier walls to go in around the shredder, and it's required by DEP. They're asking the town to allow them to work in 2 shifts, one from 7 to 3, and the second one from 3 to 11, Monday through Friday, and 1 shift from 7 to 3 on Saturday. They're also asking us to allow them to work for 14 days.
And this is only for installation of the sound curtains in the structure, correct?
So,
Why can't they do it when they're running, when they're supposed to?
They're supposed to be doing this at the same time
So
also.
why do they-
Yeah.
So why do they need to do it in 2 shifts?
They want to get it done sooner rather than later. I guess there's been complaints.
Well, yeah, it's not working.
Been complaints for 2 years, they've had 2 years to get
That's
this
why
done.
they want to get it
haven't done
done.
it yet.
They didn't want to.
from what I understand, again, DEP is, it's their requirement, so, okay, so sort of, we can go down this road and we can say, no, we're not gonna allow them to do anything, and they can only do it during that time, which means it's gonna take them then even longer,
Yeah.
right? So then we won't ever know if it works or if it doesn't work, and
Do we really
DEP,
care if it works anymore?
okay, that's another, I'm just saying, legally, we won't be able to tell if it works, and DEP won't be able to tell if it works.
Right.
So if we say, no, you can't do this, or if we say you can only do it during hours of operation, it's gonna take them longer. And then we'll never get to, you know, whatever end result that we know if it works or if it doesn't
But
work,
it
so.
won't take them longer if they just
Okay.
shut down while they do it.
But the second shift would be from 3 to 11?
No, we're just, this is what they're asking.
That's what they asked for.
He's asking me what they're asking for, and I'm reading it as, you know,
Because we think 11 o'clock's a little unreasonable, it's too
Exactly.
late.
How am I gonna go?
Right.
My kids gonna go. to
Maybe
school.
until 6
Yeah,
or
but
7.
they have an
That would be-
outside sound barrier issue right now. Why should we be concerned about the inside when they have an issue with the outside?
Well, we'd like to get as much sound barrier mitigation as we can
Yeah,
in place.
but shouldn't they be
So-
concerning themselves on the outside? They shouldn't even be able to operate right now.
That's with the DEP. The DEP says they're still within compliance. I don't know how they,
Compliance, how is that?
I don't know if that's not through,
$1,000 a day, they're not being.
that's
they're
not through us.
compliance.
This is, all
Right.
we have is the licensing,
so I
not
think
the
the
sound compliance.
problem is, this is the problem, right? We all get it all like mixed in together because we want the whole thing to be solved at one time. This board is the only thing that we can do is give them the license, which is up on April 30th. And the only thing that we can do is make restrictions on that junk handler's license, okay? Everything else, the shredder, the permit for the shredder, what the requirements are around the sound barrier wall, what the requirements are for the container wall, that's all through DEP. That has nothing to do with the town of Freetown and the Board of Selectmen. So I think that
The wall is
it seems like it's all mixed and mingled, but we have no jurisdiction
Yeah,
over
but
that.
that wall is in Freetown.
I
OSHA
There
understand,
should
it's
be a building
requi-
inspector that inspects that wall.
I called OSHA. OSHA said it's the town's responsibility to check that wall.
Of course it is. Of
For
course it is.
structure.
Safety.
When I
Not
build a
for
house, I
whether
need a,
it's
when I build a
required or
house, I
not.
need
No,
an
right,
inspector.
not
DEP
for, not
yes,
for whether
right.
it's a.
DEP
Listen,
says
right.
what's required, what's not required by the sound, and all. We don't have anything to do with that.
Right.
Safety, is it installed
Safety.
correctly? Is it gonna
Right.
fall over?
Exactly.
Those kind of
They
things,
shouldn't even be there.
Even the third layer, they never put the third layer up.
that's
And
been
they-
brought up
Those
too.
containers shouldn't even be
operating-
there in the first place.
That's
You know,
absolutely.
That was
Would-
not this board.
our understanding is that the town issued them a statement or whatever, I don't know what it's called, but, not to operate until the wall they had to submit a new permit or whatever.
They were given a cease and desist until they came into compliance. They have been reissued a building permit by the building inspector to continue putting up this sound wall, which I guess they're doing during working hours right now. This is what this is all about, and fix the container wall.
So it's been maybe 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and they haven't put the other wall, there was 3 layers, only 2 layers.
Mhm.
So, I mean,
But I don't know if that's not through us, that's through DEP, whether they're requiring that
It's a
third layer
town.
be put back on.
Isn't it
or
by the
not.
town bylaws that it can't be seen from the roads?
No, not
It
that I
is.
know of.
The thing is, if DP had done their homework, we
What
wouldn't
can't
be
be
in
seen by
this
the road?
situation.
Anything on that site,
Can't be seen by the road.
but from a public way. It's a provision under the industrial zone bylaw.
That nothing can be seen on industrial property? What,
It's a provision under the industrial zone bylaw, so there's like 8 of them, and one of them is that there should be no visual of debris of the buildings, the structures, whatever, from any public way.
we'll have to review that, I'll send that to the building inspector.
I
Can we have the zoning
spoke to
enforcement
Scott
officer
about that.
about it?
so-
But this is back, like again, this is back whether we let them put the sound barrier up more expediently to hopefully prevent some of the noise, or if we just make them keep going at the rate they're going now.
Can I
Well,
just
yes.
add,
You know what
according
that's
to the
interesting is,
consent
why
order-
should we have, I mean, I think it would be
Again.
reasonable to some, but like, anything that they do is never reasonable. They're not compliant, they don't follow the directions, they do everything they want to. Well, so, why, like Steve said, why don't they stop operations for a day or two and get it done? Like,
Why
why
do they
should
have to
I suffer
suffer?
more? Why should my son suffer more? Not go to sleep and be up and waking and crying? Why
Well,
should I
that's-
wake
that's
up
why
and
They're
we said-
requesting
why
to be
should
open
we?
until 7?
11 o'clock?
To do the work until 11?
They've had 2 years. They've been penalized by DEP because they didn't follow the DEP deadline. Correct.
And they should be penalized by DEP.
We shouldn't suffer anymore.
And being reasonable, one thing they have not done is being reasonable. He's not reasonable. He has power, he has money, and he thinks he does whatever he wants, and I get that.
There's no
But,
reason,
you know,
there's no reason he can't shut down and put up his walls.
Yeah.
11,
Easy
They've
as
got until
that.
March 31st to get that mitigation material up. They've been tracking this since October. The DEP has the consent order. Every 15 to 30 days, they have to come up with, an agreement for new plan. If they reach that, then, okay, great, this happened. If they don't reach that, they get another 15 days, and that has to happen. And then the DEP says, no, if we can extend it that many more weeks, and then let's see if you can do it. All of that was supposed to end on March 31st. That was the last day. They've been fined for how many weeks? $1,000 a day after the last storm knocked down. Like, it goes on and on and on and on. If this is between Excel and the DEP, this is DEP's decision to figure out what they need to do to babysit Excel and hold their hands along the way of the consent order that they issued 6 months ago. The town of Freetown, the residents have been patient long enough. If this is between the DEP and Excel, this is the DEP's decision whether or not to make them stop operations because they're not compliant. They haven't stopped as of March 31st. They haven't stopped.
Right, even with the
There's no
wall.
question, there's no question.
So we're still waiting to find out what happened at that DEP meeting. It was postponed because of the snowstorm, and then they had it. We still have not heard what the new consent order or new fines or new whatever is in that. We have not heard from DEP yet, so.
Where would that come from, though? If this is the final consent order that everyone signed and agreed upon, where would a new consent order come from unless they exceeded sound limits and mitigation limits, and according to the last analysis, they did not. So nothing has changed, other than what was standing in the last 6 months. They've had
So-
6 months.
What happened was, from what I understand, the sound barrier wall had to be up by a certain date. They asked for an extension, and DEP said, no, you're not getting the extension. During that same time, remember those canister walls fell over? We had a meeting that day with DEP. DEP took the time and went over there, inspected the property, went back to the office, and immediately called Excel and asked, and wanted them to come in. So, come in to review, like you were in another violation. In our eyes, they were in a violation, because they shouldn't be operating without the sound barrier wall. And at that point, the sound barrier wall was down, okay? So in our eyes, and that's why we said, you need to go over there and you need to check it out, because it's down. They did, they went back, they called, from what I understand, called Excel, and then had that other meeting. The other meeting was supposed to take place, but there was a snowstorm, so I think the meeting just took place last week. We have not heard what the ramifications are from that last meeting.
You know what, it's very simple.
Again, that's all with DEP, not with
Right.
this
Right.
board's license authority.
It's very simple. I mean, we've gone through this for a year and a half with this crap, okay? Why extend the hours? Just shut it down and fix your problem, so you can run it. Why should we suffer more? Extended hours, it doesn't even make sense.
We're not extending, sorry, you're
it's not
No,
the hours.
you didn't read that.
The hours to
right,
fix
so we're not
the wall.
extending,
Well,
so
it-
let me go back.
Just for putting the wall up.
Right,
Okay.
so they're asking the board to allow them 2 shifts, 4 to 6 employees, and 2 shifts, 7 to 3 and 3 to 8 on Monday through Friday.
They want 3 to 11.
They want 3 to 11.
Sure.
And then
What
they want
is to be
additional,
able to run their
Hold on.
conveyors.
and
Hold on,
one,
please.
hold on, and 1 additional shift from 7 to 3 on Saturday to conduct and complete the allowed task. And that the equipment used to conduct and completed the allowed task be just the forklift for the moving panels and beams, a crane for hanging the steels in the panels, a man lift for bolting the steel beams, and welders for welding the steel beams. Excel agrees that no truck deliveries or mechanical operations other than those set forth in this agreement will be conducted other than the allowed task outside the days of operation restriction otherwise contained in the license, unless the conditions are modified by the Superior Court as a result of the pending motion to modify a preliminary injunction. So let me stop there. So you know that the board put certain conditions and requirements on their junk handler's license, for hours of operation. They took us to court, and,
They won the first and.
they won the first one, we appealed, and then the appellate court, agreed with us, and they upheld our hours of operation. Now they went back and they went to Superior Court, and they're trying to again say, no, this is unfair. So,
They're appealing the appeal.
right. So, unless a preliminary injunction comes down, and has a modification. The duration of this limited and temporary modification agreement shall be for 14 workdays from the day of the stipulation executed or until the installation work is completed, whichever comes first. The board retains the right to revoke this temporary modification agreement in its sole discretion, and should be, the allowed task was unreasonable noise and disturbance to the area residents outside of the hours of operation unless otherwise permitted in the license. So, revocation, this is what they wanted, shall be effective upon 24 hours by written notice provided by the board's counsel to Excel's counsel or by electronic mail. That's what they're asking
So
for.
they're saying, we understand if you decide to renege this, you can written, letters back and forth between the lawyers, yet the board was also presented in November of 2016, this consent order, written by the DEP, executed by the DEP. Do you honestly believe they'll abide by their own words, that they'll only run the equipment needed to get this wall up? When it's a year ago, so May of 2017, you had the same opportunity to renew the license or not renew the license, and given what they agreed to, you thought, okay, we're all good neighbors here, they said they were gonna do this, and they still haven't done it over a year later. Do you honestly believe they're going to limit their operations in that second shift over 14 days or later, whichever comes first?
No, not later.
14 working days, so really, they're trying to squeak out 3 weeks.
It's not like they
it would end
can't
the
do it, they
It would
can,
end the 19th, 4/19 would be the
they
last
can do
day.
it during the day. They were doing it today. I mean, they can do it, right? So
They
just,
don't
how
want to
long
shut the
was it?
operation.
but what difference does time make at this point to them? It doesn't matter.
They could have had that
And what
up in
kind
a
of lighting
day.
are they gonna need at 11 o'clock at night to get this done correctly?
I think the bottom line is, given their track record, there's no reason to believe they're gonna actually do it.
No
I
way.
mean, just
No way.
They're gonna continue to work.
With the shredder, so they say, you know what, let's appeal it. So we run our things, do our things during the day, and then they're gonna work these extended hours to fix what they should have fixed a long time ago. So they're really just playing the game again,
Exactly what they do.
That's what they
They're
do.
players, that's
They're not,
what they
they're
are.
not,
They
they're
want
not operating,
operations
they're not
all day.
fixing it during the times. That's what they're looking for. And they're not
Well, if
working.
they don't have it done by the 31st, just shut them down. That's all there is to it. So you just tell them no on the extinction of hours, and they better pray they get it up by the 31st and get it tested. Because if they don't, then they're shut down. That's all there is to it.
They need to shut down, stop
We're tired of being the nice neighbors.
and put up the sound barriers. That's it.
Stop having explosions,
That's
that would
it.
be fantastic too.
And right,
They even complain with the wall. The wall is two of the walls that fell, which they you know what's sad? They don't even own their own accountability. Those they fell. I was there. I didn't see my eyes, but one moment I was putting my generator out. They were there. The next moment they're down. They weren't operating. Who operates cranes at 60, 70 miles an hour? Like, just own it. That's their credibility. Like, he has no credibility in my eyes, and probably most of residents, if anyone has some kind of, common sense.
The other
Like-
thing too, with the explosions, I mean, how safe is it to install these sound curtains while the shredder is running? I just question that. So, I mean, I think they should be shut down. They should be made to put this stuff up during the day. If they lose money, if they get fined, that's their own fault.
Yeah, because now if it explodes, you have that metal, now you have shrapnel in the air.
This is their industry.
You don't even know where the water goes, their groundwater, okay? The DEP's in charge. You don't know where the groundwater goes. You don't know why the fence isn't up all the way around the whole facility. You don't know if they have licenses for mercury. You don't know if they have licenses for anything. So how do you even judge any of this? It's like,
They
There's
knew
nothing.
what they were doing.
The
They
smell of
couldn't
oil
ask
in the
for
air.
extension,
That's another
extension,
thing.
extension.
Nobody talks about that. Nobody
It's not
talks
safe.
about the
It's not
oil in
safe.
the air.
If they cared, they would have had it done on the deadline. They started it before the deadline, they missed the deadline because they didn't care enough to get it done. Now they want the residents to suffer even more so that they can just extend their hours and run their business and make a hazard for everybody.
Yeah.
But they'll still make their money.
How many times do we need to call the police department? How many times do we need to call DEP, the town, the fire department? How many times have we called for the last year and a half? How long is this gonna go on? How long are you guys gonna allow this to go on?
Okay, but, I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
it's
No.
your meeting.
I mean, the police
Right
department is there
now-
all the time, the
Okay,
fire
these are
department.
all the arguments for the last week in April. Right now, the only thing that's in front of us is because DEP requires them to have this wall up, not the town, DEP, and because we need to have the wall up to try to protect you as much as we can, we need to make a decision.
An
Can
unsafe
you let
wall.
me finish now,
Go ahead.
please? That we need to make a decision whether we're gonna give them a certain amount of time to get it done, not exactly what they're asking for, but a certain amount of time to get it done, and go from there. So either we give them the time allotted, and make it very clear to them that we don't wait the 24 hours to revoke whatever they're
No, it has to be
doing.
immediate.
It has to be immediate. I don't care if I send Carlton, or we send Carlton, or one of the police officers, or whatever, that if we hear an explosion, or we hear
If they're
them
running,
moving
then
trucks, or
it's done.
we hear a shredder, or we hear the conveyor belt, or whatever, after the hours that go according to the license, then they're done. Then it just shows the courts and everybody else that they don't live up to their word. Now, we all know that there are certain times that, that they don't, but it shows everybody that, look, we have tried, they do not try, but we have to get the sound barrier wall up. This is not up for debate, unfortunately.
They can do it during
What's
the
your
day.
opinion on that?
Have
What are
them
your
shut
working
down.
hours
Have
for
them
you?
do it during
You
the
offer
day.
them to extend?
What's the
just
hours we're
curious.
talking about?
So, we were talking about allowing them from 7 to 3, and then 3 to 8.
So they can't work past 8 PM.
You know, you're gonna put a police officer over there to make sure he closes at 8.
And
Or you're
then-
gonna leave it to the residents to call you.
And then on revocation, we can talk about that.
You should be paid for it.
And on revocation should be effective immediately by written notice provided by the board's counsel or designee, which would mean any one of the board of selectmen or the town administrator, to Excel or Excel's counsel, by electronic mail or in hand. So it has to be done immediately. Like, no more cease and desist, no more, you have 24 hours to read your email, and then you get your email, and then council reads their email, and now it's 48 hours. No, it's immediate, like, we
have
hear
it served.
you, we understand you, we need to get that sound barrier wall up, and then we can go from
Can I
there.
make a recommendation to add to that?
Go
That
ahead.
require them to have a police detail on between the hours of whatever, 5 o'clock and 8 o'clock, or 3 o'clock and 8 o'clock. And then we know they won't be playing any junk, and we'll have our police officers there monitoring it, and hey, they get a little extra time on the books
And on
too.
Saturdays, not from 7, but maybe from 8 or 9? I mean, 7 is.
Whatever is after their normal hours, they are required to have a police
They
detail
shouldn't,
on.
they don't deserve it,
No.
but.
Would you rather have them, as a recommendation to the board, would you rather have them work
9 to 2
9 to 2?
instead of 7 to
or
3?
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
if you're gonna
might as
do
well
7 to
something.
1?
Might as well.
If it's
You know.
within 14 days, this
I mean, I
is 2
agree.
Saturdays, 9
It's
to
2 Saturdays.
It's 2
But
Saturdays.
that's it's 2 like, this should have been done,
They don't deserve it.
And to appeal to the town for more time versus the DEP, who knows what's happening in this postponed meeting? But it's not our responsibility to give them more time.
No, not
And so you
necessarily.
could say no to the Saturday, because it's 4 hours on one Saturday, or 5 on one, and 5 on the next. So let them absorb those 10 hours. We don't need to hear those 10 hours.
Rolling on the town, I get it, in a court of law, they will look at it, we will, listen, you've done all this stuff, you continue doing it, the Thompson, this, but you know, my question is, how far does this all go? What's the next step? They're gonna ask for more information and more
So I
time
think
and
you
more
already know the
this.
next step, right? So the next step is the
What?
meeting that we have on that Monday, that last week in April.
Okay.
So that's the last step.
So so when are they supposed to have, so if you allow them these 14 days, and 14 days is working days
Starting
is.
from tomorrow, starting tomorrow.
To the
Saturday's not a working day, so
Well, it is
don't
because we're
worry.
gonna give them hours to work, so that is a working day.
So they'll be considered.
Yes.
If we give them
Saturday
9 to
working
2,
day.
like
Yeah.
you were talking about, then that would be considered a working day.
Okay.
and it's
14
14
days is not-
days.
is Monday to Friday.
So,
So.
Are
Right.
they gonna be allowed to run the shredder while they do
No,
this?
no.
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 They
no.
can't.
Only
No.
can run, what'd you say, a crane, a
The only things that
forklift,
they
and
can.
welders.
Right, that's it.
And they have to maintain our current license.
So, but during the day though, like day
During
hours?
the day, they're gonna be able to run from 8 to 4, their normal hours, and
they-
do this at the same
Is
time.
that safe?
I don't
That's-
believe they will. I believe
that's-
they will run their normal hours
Exactly. They
and
won't
then
do
just
it.
work
That's
on
what they
this at
want.
night.
But they've been doing this during the day.
How
They've
about-
been putting
how about the
equipment
4
while
hours
they
they
run
They
need
during
are
the
in,
day.
they are in.
How about the
they're
4 hours they
not
need
compliant.
every so many hours to change the jaw?
I know.
9 to 2.
They're gonna do that in the
Oh,
same
yeah,
day.
guaranteed.
They already had their
Right.
chance, 2 years trying to do this and they haven't done it.
They don't deserve it,
Okay.
they don't.
I mean, just
While we
for
got the fire
safety,
chief
I
here, do
would
we
not
ask him why we don't have the
sound
wall up
curtains
around the
while
rest
they're
of it?
running.
Right, and we can't mandate whether they, I mean, just
It's the,
changing their hours, we get,
who's ever
We've
putting
been
a
tired
sound barrier
10
up,
months
I
of lawsuit.
mean, they must be knowledgeable in that
I
area.
would,
OSHA would be the ones that would be,
they're very, very concerned, is what they told me on the phone.
Everybody's saying it's the town's problem. That's all there is comes down to.
Yeah. They
The
give-
DEP is turning around and saying the town should have shut them down a long time ago, and the town
well, that's
hasn't
not what
done
we're
it.
getting from the DEP. We're getting from the
Right.
DEP that they're in non-compliance, they have ACOs, they're not
Right.
compliant with the ACOs, they're trying to track them down. And personally, I have a big issue.
And we're gonna
with
be
DEP.
the nice people and give them extra hours.
What about the license that we're considering issuing them again? Are we considering the same as license that they're going,
That's all on the
Or-
23rd. We're gonna
That's-
discuss that, hash it all out on the 23rd, and make a decision on if they're gonna get a license. If they do,
or the right
What kind
type of license that you really should have?
well, that's the only license we would have.
That's
no
the only
issue.
license that we have to give them.
Do you know, so, because this is just, it's just, I think the end result is just not gonna stop here. And when the license coming up for renewal, because I would like your perspective of where you're thinking, where your mind is. Like, let's just say they get this done, you know, and then the noise is still there. The explosions are there. I personally think they're not going away. So now the license comes up for renewal. Where will we stand?
And that's what we'll have all discussed on the 23rd. That's what, we're all gonna get opinions from you, we're all gonna review all the complaints we've had for the last year during the license period, and then we're gonna deliberate and we're gonna make a decision on whether or not to issue the license. And if we do issue the license, what kind of restrictions, further restrictions will be put on it, if any.
Here's the thing with that, they have until the 19th to install the sound mitigation. So by the 23rd, we still won't know whether it's working.
Right. Oh, you gotta have it sound.
So
But
then
we
they're
have to
gonna
have it by
say,
May 1st.
then
So
they're
the
gonna say,
longer
you
it takes-
voted no,
the
but
longer
you
it takes to
didn't
put it
really
in-
give us time to evaluate it.
The longer it takes to put it in, the less time we'll have to know whether it's gonna work or not. So it furthers their argument by saying, if we say, no, you can't put anything in, you can only do it during working hours, and it takes past the 31st, or the 30th, then we won't know if it was gonna work or not, and that's part of their argument saying, well, it would've worked if you let us do it.
You have
Right.
enough to
They had the
pull
time
their
to do it.
license whether these sound curtains are up or not. That's the bottom line. The sound curtains don't matter.
It's not gonna stop the smoke that's pouring
It's
off.
not gonna
Mother
stop
Nature.
any-
Again, that's all DEP. That's not this board. This board is a licensing
So
board
you
for
wanna
just
protect the
junk
residents.
imports.
So
So
it
you
shouldn't
wanna
even,
protect the
they
residents.
should, so then it,
We
And
know
that's
they're
all
not junk
DEP.
handlers, so that
so
should
then
be
if that's the
covered.
case, then it should just be, you guys do it during working hours. If you have to shut down, you shut down. That's it. It's 8 to 4.
All right, what do we do?
Ready? So, I'll make a motion to, allow Excel to do the 2 shifts, one from 7 to 3, the other one from 3 to 8 on Monday through Friday, and 9 to 2 on Saturday.
No Sundays, no federally observed holidays, correct?
No,
Not during Sunday.
To conduct, as stated, just the allowed task, that the equipment to conduct and complete the allowed task be the forklift to move panels and beams, a crane for hanging steel and panels, a man lift for bolting steel beams, and welders and welding for steel beams. Excel agrees that no truck deliveries or mechanical operations other than those set forth in this agreement will be conducted, and no other allowed task outside the days of operation as restricted otherwise in the contained license. Also, I would make a recommendation to the board as part of my motion that revocation shall be immediate by written notice provided by the board's counsel or designee, which would mean any one of us or the town administrator, to Excel's counsel or Excel by electronic mail or in hand.
And that's for 14 days and ending the 19th.
14 days, no longer than the 19th, or earlier,
Whichever sooner.
whichever is sooner.
14th of April, 19th of April. right?
19th of April, yeah,
All right, and you're abstaining
starting
from this?
tomorrow.
I'll second.
I'll make the second if you're gonna abstain.
All right,
All right, Charlie's gonna abstain, I'll second the motion.
Are you gonna put in that to get a police officer?
Any discussion on the motion? The motion is, any discussion on the motion?
No.
No. All in
Do
favor?
you want to amend the motion at all?
It should be
You're
super.
You're not gonna rely on us to call every single time
No.
something goes wrong.
Should not be us.
They should have to pay for the
Between-
detail,
They should be
not
paid.
the
Should have to
residents
pay for
calling.
their-
Between,
3 and 8?
no, 4 and 8, because
Let
they,
Excel pay
For
for
the
it.
after hours.
4 and 8.
Yeah.
4 and 8,
Okay, between the hours of 4 and 8, I'll amend it,
And on
between the hours of
Saturdays.
4 and 8
and 9 2 on Saturday.
and 9 to 2 on Saturday, that Excel should pay for a police detail.
And you're amending that motion?
Mhm.
And I will second the amendment. So, any discussion on the amendment or on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And the 7 to 8, just a question, 7 to 8 in the morning, even though they're not supposed to be making all those noises before 8 anyways, when we hear them routinely well before 7, like, does the police detail, I mean, I know it's past or whatever, but I agree with Steve, it's like no matter how many times we call or who we call, who do we call when something's happening outside of those normal operating hours?
Well,
If
what
our
we just agreed
voices
to, we'll
aren't
have a police officer there from
from
4
4 to 8.
to 8. That extra hour in the morning, you could,
And-
if you feel that there's a violation, you can call just like you normally would the police or.
And so the list of all the extraneous noises that were read, including literally the word explosions, yet when we call now with explosions, you know, it's,
One of these days, my window, it's gonna pop. I see who's gonna be responsible for that. Because I'm telling you that, those slider doors.
Anybody that does
That's all.
damage to your property is responsible for that damage. So if they do something that damages your
I
property,
got damage to my property.
then you should have a lawyer and you should be pursuing the damage of your property. If you have foundation cracks and you think it's because of the shaking from the,
I got cracks on my wall.
then you should have a lawyer and you should be pursuing that, because anybody that causes damage to your property, no different if your neighbor went over and burnt down the side of your house, you would sue the neighbor. If anybody does damage to your property, I would consult an attorney. All right, moving on. Unfortunately, we have to move on.
this starts tomorrow.
Starts
Yep.
tomorrow. Well,
They don't have a representative here, would they be notified?
they will be notified by legal counsel. Well, as soon as we get done here, we'll be notifying our legal counsel tonight, and they'll be notified in the morning. So they probably won't start at 7 tomorrow because they won't know until
But otherwise, the clock is ticking.
the clock's ticking. And she put an end date of the 19th. So whether they get notified in the noon time or tomorrow after, if they miss tomorrow altogether, it doesn't matter. The 19th is the end.
Can I ask just one last question regarding the explosion, everyone, from this past Friday? Did we get any feedback on that as far as what that was, what they say it was?
Chief?
I know people even on Main Street heard it. The owner
Fire
of,
chief responded. You can speak to it.
They claim it was a tire in a truck.
The tire
And on
explosion,
the scale flew out and
they're liars.
Tire that shook my house.
Yeah.
I never seen a tire explosion that would shake a house.
Are you guys
I
ready for
believe
the
it, but
fire?
the problem is whatever happens, happens. And before we get down there, it's done, it's over.
Exactly,
It's
so
out.
how do you
No,
feel?
exactly.
Did you respond to that, chief?
I did.
Did you find any evidence of anything?
There was rubber tire next to the scale, you know, look old to me, but there were pieces of tire
Yeah, I'm
there.
sure they are.
And I could not, I actually walked around the entire
What size
facility
tire was it?
looking for a little truck tire, yeah.
Not an airplane one?
No.
Tires.
But unfortunately, it's a big pile of junk, so they said, look for a tanker blew up. you get a mountain of metal in front of you, it's tough to find what exactly could have actually popped and made noise or the explosion you guys are hearing. I
Oh
don't,
my
I have a
God.
question for you. Why don't they have fencing around that, where the water tanks are on the side there, those water pits?
I don't know why they're not fencing. I did see those.
Those things, those kids can fall in that thing and drown. When I called I called everybody, and they turned around and said it's up to the fire chief to figure that out.
I think it falls under the fire one, but there probably should be some fencing there. The whole place should be fenced in, actually.
So who's gonna enforce that?
Well, I never
Yeah,
said.
I mean, that's bylaw.
We're gonna move on
Good luck
now.
with that.
Bylaws.
6 PM, discuss with the Finance Committee Department for Cultural Council budget, Council on Aging budget, Communication Center budget, and the police budget.
Which one are we doing first?
Let's start with Finance Committee. I mean,
Thank you, everybody.
Council Council, sorry. Who's not?
All right.
All right, so Laura's, so we'll go to the
Council on
next
Aging, we'll do Council on Aging.
one. Council on Aging. You're here, you're up.
And
Sorry to take it out of order, but
I have, it's okay.
yeah, what? That's, so we're only normally call in front of this budget session. 541, Charlie says, thank you, Charlie. So you're basically submitting the same budget as last year?
Possibly, yes.
Yeah, the
Possibly,
only,
yes.
the only thing you have an increase is a step increase, right, for the CBA, that's it.
Clerical.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
We'd also like, under, other purchase services.
So I can't hear you.
Under,
Under other purchase services. Need the account number?
No.
How about a page?
It would be the third page, second item down.
COA office supplies, other purchases, yes.
Other purchases, yeah.
Other purchase services?
We'd like to increase that $1,000 because of the brown bag program. We've had to rent a truck because of the prior vehicle that we had is no longer offered. And so, to rent the truck, it's approximately $70 every time, plus the gas that we need.
Is our drivers able to,
It's a U-Haul that
They
we're
just rent the
Okay.
U-Haul,
yeah,
so you're increasing it by $1,000.
we would like to increase it by $1,000.
Is that in this 2,075 number?
No,
So it'll be 3,075 is what you'd like to have.
3,075.
And it saves the town a lot of money, because now you don't have to register a truck. You don't have to insure it, you don't have to do
No
anything.
inspections.
Yeah,
Why are we basically going up 1,700 beyond that for that item? 2017, it was 350. Now,
Oh, okay.
2018, you're
We included the maintenance on our copier machine on that. And, in my senior center program that we have, the little screen here that you,
okay.
supposed to log in.
Okay.
Yeah, we had increased that last year.
So in the 18 budget, you increased it to 2075. They want to increase for the 19 budget, just another $1,000 on top of that.
All right.
so something must have went down since something's going up, because your budget is only increased by $450. So what did you decrease? Do you know?
No,
Okay.
it went level the whole way. She's been following the level budget.
So Bruce has been helping her too?
Bruce has been helping.
Okay.
Which I find the level budget is kind of hard to operate with. I'm sure every agency is giving you that.
Okay, so.
The only increase I see is the salary and wages, the only increase I see, except for the that extra $1,000 they're asking
But
for
the
now.
bottom line is the same, basically, except for the $450, so something
Four
was
hundred
going
and
down.
fifty would be,
No,
for
same.
the extra hours
Well,
that are for vacation time, clerical.
It's low, the only increase is the $450 for the,
Right, but she said she's asking for,
no, she wants to, I'll add to this $1,000 to make it 157,535.80. She wants to add $1,000, it's not in the original request.
Which line are we talking about?
She'd like
page
to,
86.
she'd like to add it in the COA other purchases services. She has an amount currently at $275, she'd like to add $1,000 to make it $3,075.
Okay.
And then increase her bottom line from 156,535.80 to 157,535.80.
So they wanna add $1,000.
She wants to add $1,000 to what she submitted for a request.
Is this $2,000 already in their budget? This, okay, so that's already in their budget. Last year it was $350.
No,
No, last
last
year
year,
was $275.
It was 2,075?
which is 18.
And now you want to increase it by another 1,000.
So they want the,
Actually, it's a pittance compared to what you were paying for the insurance.
well, that wasn't deducted out of this, so
No, it
currently.
wasn't, so we're saving town money actually as well.
We could take that out of the budget. Because if we don't take that out of the budget, then we're not realizing savings, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but, you know, what's being,
I'd really like to see him put a
less.
truck back on the road instead of renting it every time.
I agree.
So I don't mind keeping it in the budget, leave the 1,000 in the budget this time to get over the hump until we can do something with the vehicle for them, and then everything would kick back to the original.
I
Because
don't think,
they would need insurance again, they would need inspections again.
mhm.
I don't think the truck we have now is repairable, that's the whole
It
thing.
isn't.
Right. But we might have to find another truck and vehicle
Right,
for
we'd
it.
have to get a new
We spoke to
truck
the town
and,
administrator.
I've actually called a couple times to the sub, coast regional
Yeah,
transportation.
it's RTA.
And we're on a list, should a, retired vehicle become available. So I have it in a tickler file, I've called, I believe twice so far.
Yeah, we've inquired different areas also, we can't find anything that wouldn't be junk.
Unfortunately. Good day, any other questions, concerns?
No, I'm just looking at our capital equipment budget and seeing where we're at.
Okay. Anything, Charlie?
No.
You guys, you have a forum, yeah? Do you have any questions or anything?
No.
Pretty straightforward? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and oh, one more thing, we have put up a notice over there that at the end of your sessions or whoever is using the building, for them to check off that, yeah, the doors are locked, the heat is off, and stuff like that, and just initial it.
Okay.
And that's right over there by the door, so who's
Actually,
over your
that
last
came up-
one out?
That came up at a department head meeting, that they were gonna start using that form.
Yeah.
And I had asked, I hadn't seen the revised.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So we
It was
wanna make
supposed to
sure.
be, it was supposed to be used a while ago.
yeah.
Yep.
I do have a question.
Is it listing the department?
Joe, what's your question, George?
Because I asked her to have the column in the department, so we know who it is.
Whatever you asked her to.
Alright, good.
The chair of the finance committee has a question.
Yes.
Were you not in need of refrigeration?
Yes, well, that's been approved.
Yeah, we approved it
Yeah,
last
now
year.
you have that last
Certain
year.
amount
Vote
is,
that.
It
yeah.
hasn't been done yet, but it's there, right?
Yeah,
it's supposed to be done within the next 2 months. We've had, the weather's been killing us.
We need to.
We look at our agenda and everything is, wait for,
Yeah.
wait.
Yeah.
You get tired of waiting though, like the,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we didn't have it on.
Yeah, it was 1,000, switched it around from a grant.
Yeah.
And they needed to get it engineered also.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Chief, you're up. Communication and police.
Excuse me.
Do you know what time Laurie's coming? Here she is. Oh, you see you sneak in. Sorry. You mind if Laurie goes in front of you, Chief? Come on up, Laurie. Hope you start recording the game, because if he misses the game, Tampa Bay tonight.
Well, we couldn't afford the concrete.
Cultural Council.
What department goes?
Cultural Council?
690.
690. Excellent job with the Easter egg hunt this year. Not as good as the Christmas with the Santa Claus. I thought that he was excellent, the Santa Claus.
We had a very good
The Easter Bunny was pretty good too.
You get any, eggs from the hunting?
I did not. Unfortunately, I had to skip it this year. One of the things I enjoy the most is when the cultural council stuff. Are you looking for an increase?
We are, $500 more.
$500. And what would the $500 be for?
We're looking to do 3 movie nights in addition to the Easter egg hunt that we did and the Christmas tree lighting.
And the movie nights consist of renting the equipment,
Correct.
setting up, insurances, that kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
How many did you do last year?
1.
Town pub, big hit.
So it's $500 for the 2 more, or $500 for 3?
We're asking $500 more, we still do donations. That's how we paid for most of it last year.
I'm gonna ask again, only because I live on the other side of town, and again, people complain because there's no decorations on that side of town, and I know that one year we gave you $500 extra so you could buy decorations for that side of town, and that wasn't done. Is there a reason why? Or can we at least put something on the East Freetown side, please?
Yep, we're actually, at the last meeting, we have, Jan Wilkins on the Culture Council is drafting up a letter, so we can do the flags and getting, sponsorship and things like that. So paying for some of them, but also getting
Okay.
sponsorship so we can do the flags on both.
Okay.
So that is, yep.
Thank you.
And also movie night, the reason for the 3, some will be on one side and some will be on the other side. So not just in one location.
It's just,
No, I
yeah,
understand.
it's that,
They actually discussed, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I believe they discussed buying flags and putting them up last year. But it just didn't work out. And
Right.
location is an issue, where you're gonna put them, there is no center there, so I know you've talked about the Rotary, putting some stuff around the Rotary area. They even talked about maybe a Christmas tree, but then there was sightline issues that they were concerned of, so.
I think they were asking about the telephone poles,
Mhm.
to put them just on those, so as you're going down either Chase or, Middleborough Road, like that way.
Middleborough County.
Yeah.
Fair.
Perfect, all right.
Okay, anybody got
Guys?
any questions?
I'm good.
George? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Chief, now you're up. I've seen you guys before, somewhere.
Yeah, it's like deja vu.
Like a few hours ago. Let's do let's do, communications first, since you're both here. What are we doing? What are we looking for? Do you have any increases?
Yes, we do. One of the increases is to the part-time wages. We're looking to increase that from 51,118, last fiscal year's number, to 65,205. We looked at historical data as to what we were spending in that particular category. 2017, over 54,000. 2016, we spent over 64,000. 2015, close to 54,000. Also, in the additional gross overtime, we were looking for an increase of about, looks like about $100.
And the increases are what?
Well, we've been bailing the budget out with 911 grant money to keep it afloat, which is a poor practice. Because A, the budget, the grant money may fluctuate, B, it may not be available, and C, it may be reprioritized to other needs.
You're still gonna apply for the grant, correct?
Oh, yeah.
And if you get the grant, is it gonna stay in this budget, or in this line, or is it gonna be pushed to another line?
Well, the grant can be used for a number of different purposes. It can be used, for example, to buy chairs or a console. It can be used for certain radio equipment. It can be used to replace the server for the record management system dedicated to the 911 mission. It can be used for modems and wireless and a number of other things. We try to put at least $10,000 into the 911 budget each year to keep it in the black.
So what's your total increase you're asking for? I can't find them.
Went from 273,477 to 300,976.
I showed 289.
Yeah, I had 289.
That's my stomach growling.
289, 457, 42. We don't use that word.
What lines are you looking at there?
George, we're looking
We're over that.
at,
What page?
Right here,
Okay,
George.
44. 44 on the bottom. Page 44, I'm sorry. It's section 215. Ken, what do you have? You have the 289?
Yep.
And where did you add it? Because I
I
can't
have
find
the
that either.
289 too, because I have last year's here. So,
So what did you have for last year?
289, 457, 42.
yep. So in 2017, you were at 288.8, and then in 2018, you went to 289.4, and now you're going from 289.4 to 309.
Around 10,500 and change.
Right, which,
And some of that's contractual, right?
so one is, it says an extra day for $3,500.
I have an extra thing.
It's in here somewhere. So I have an extra day. Also, you're increasing the telephones by $7,200, it says.
Yeah.
So in expense, your expense line item went from 13.8 to 21, and it says increased telephone by $7,200.
The telephone, yeah, that's not accurate. The telephone line item should remain what it was this fiscal year.
All right, Chief, can you tell me, last year you budgeted what for communication, full-time dispatchers?
118,974 is what I,
Right, and this year you're going up 4,000, that's because of contractual obligations? Okay,
right, and I set that forth in,
all right,
the tables on all of their wages.
okay. The one thing I guess I'm confused about is that extra day you're saying is $3,500. Additional workday? Let me see
Yeah. And here, yes. Here, can't find it.
George, do you know what I'm talking about? Okay. On your front page in your
This-
budget sheet, right here, it gives you why they're asking for the increase.
Yeah, no, go to the beginning part, where it's this way, it's lined up
You
this
see,
way.
Gary? You
At
got
the
it.
very beginning, it's still-
Yeah, it should be like the 8th page in.
So what is it?
So because there's
Page 4.
52.1 in the fiscal year, not 52 weeks.
So
you have
that's
to
for
bu-
4 people?
Yes.
Okay, so that's only for 4 people.
Okay.
And if you look
So
at,
it's broken out,
like,
so the
215, you
supervisor,
can see what the breakdown is,
we added
why there is an increase.
one day, and on the dispatchers.
So we don't have this backup anymore, so I can't
Oh.
really tell. So that's fine, I can get that from you if I need it. Thank you.
So, I missed that 'cause I was talking to George.
So-
It's for, the extra day is for what?
There's one additional day in the fiscal year.
Okay, because the
leap year.
Mhm. Well,
19's a leap year?
No, but the fiscal year goes up.
Oh, yeah, okay, I gotcha.
52
20 is a
weeks in
leap
one
year.
day.
So we actually have to pay for leap years now?
Yeah.
All right, so let's go back to this. You don't need the increased telephone by $72.
Excuse me.
Oh,
Okay, so Chief, on your report, on your summary, you do have telephone cable, 12,192.
Telephone cable, let me look at that.
Yeah. So I don't have a breakdown as to why it's 12,000, but honest to goodness, that is your number.
Oh, yeah.
communication telephone.
You went from 5,000 to 12,192.
Give me one
So you
second
did
to
throw the
find
7,000 in there. It's page 43 at the bottom.
Oh, wait a minute, there is a sheet. You have alarms, 756, mobile, 2616, Comcast, 3900, and cards, 4920.
All right, I'm getting there.
I guess probably your last page.
No, I don't have.
Yeah, I don't have that either.
No, let me back up information.
Oh, thank you. Oh, okay, now I get it. All right, so on this breakdown, it represents the alarm phones, mobile, Comcast, and cards. Those cards are air cards. That's what connects the dispatch to the police wirelessly. Those air cards should be in the police budget, not in the comm center budget. So that's 4,920.
So is that why you're pulling the 7,000 increase and you're gonna pop in the police
So
budget?
I would say you'd have,
Take that out.
subtract 4,920 from 12,192, and that will give you the figure for telephones.
Can you say it again, 4,949.20.
Yeah, so it's.
49.
Subtract 4920.
From
20.
the
From the-
12,192.
Right. Did you get that, Kim? You want us to take that 12,192 number
Okay.
and subtract 49.20 from it,
Okay.
$4,920.
4,900. Okay, yep.
So that drops it now to what, 72.72? Sure it is. I did it.
7222, right?
72.72, okay.
It's right here, it says 7222, that's why. All right, 7292.
No, 72.72. I just took his number and subtracted out.
72.
Right.
I got it.
Okay.
So cross that number out too. the 7222.
Yeah, because he's not going up by that, he's only going up by, take the 40,
Yes, I got it.
okay, sorry.
I got it.
Okay, it's so confusing. Okay, so he's only increasing 2302, not 7222. And the other part's contractual, you said? The other part of the increase?
Yeah.
$400. Okay.
So this reduces the total request below the 300,000?
By 4920. So 296, right, 296, 456, 68. On my little hand map. Is the amount requested.
So can we go over the part, why you're increasing the part-time?
Yes, because that's what we've been spending historically. I mean, unless you want to continue to rely on the 911 grant, to be, you know, be able to budget out.
So what would you use the 911 grant for now?
Well, prior to the beginning of the fiscal year, we sit down and look at, you know, what the needs are. Do we need new chairs? Does the server need to be replaced? Does the backup system? Wireless connection? Training, reimbursements?
Carlton,
Howard
is that what the
DMS.
grant is for? The things you listed?
Yes. It's to support the 911 system. And that system includes incoming calls on 911, mapping, communicating that data wirelessly, communicating that data to be saved in the record management system, printers, copying machines.
This is all 911. That shouldn't be reflected in your budget, right? I mean,
Well,
that's over and above your
I'll give you, look at the budget and see how much there is for supplies. You can't buy very much with $300, $400. We depend on this grant for all kinds of things that support 911.
I guess my question is, a grant is for a specific purpose.
Yes.
It should be used for that. If you need supplies, you shouldn't be using a grant that's meant for something else.
Well, we do,
should
George,
budget that.
we do, we have to. We have to.
But if we
You
budget it,
can't even buy a chair without, you have to go through a 911 grant.
I'm sorry, that doesn't make sense to me. I mean, a grant is a grant for a specific purpose. And if you need a chair, shouldn't you request a chair?
We should, but because we believe the 911 grant will be available, we go through the 911 grant. Toner, we don't have money to buy toner, we go through the 911 grant.
I understand what you're saying, but it's not answering my question. Is the grant for toner?
You can use toner for the computers, the printers that are hooked up to the 911 system.
Anything that helps the 911 system.
Anything in 911 is.
Can't use it for the police side, can use it for the 911.
Well, I guess where I'm going is, I'm just trying to figure out if you have a grant for a specific purpose, that money should be used for that purpose. And if you have a need for something else, that should be in the budget. So maybe, are we not giving you a budget that's sufficient?
Well, right now, as I explained, George, we're making it because we're using the grant. The danger is.
That's my point.
The danger is, if the grant is eliminated, or the grant is reduced, or certain conditions are imposed where you can no longer get what we've been getting, or there are other, let's say the server goes down, and we need $20,000 to replace the record manager, and then you don't have any more. It basically exhausts the 911 grant. so you
Well, that's my
can't
point.
do
We
the
should-
other things, you know?
Shouldn't we budget for what you need, and the grant is over and above that? That's the way I always looked at
Well,
grants.
I mean, we've been doing all right so far.
How much is the grant for?
Anywhere from $20,000 to $26,000.
How long have you been getting it?
Probably about 10 years.
And has it been pretty much a flat number, or does it fluctuate every year?
It changes a little bit.
Up, down?
Both.
Both.
Either up or down, but so far fairly consistent. Yeah, so that's why we've been relying on it, you know?
I guess, can I ask a question, please? If there are other items that you require to function more efficiently, would it be a better idea or a good idea to save that grant money and use additional budgeted money instead of exhausting that grant?
Correct me if I'm not answering your question. I think that, we can, it's not a good practice to use the grant for salaries and pay, but I would say if we get the red flag that the grant isn't going to be available, then we're going to have to take immediate action to sit down and say, hey, we need X number of dollars for these supplies, these wages, etc. I guess the purpose is we just have to be aware that there's a danger, I don't know how real it is, but there's always a danger that a grant can be shut off. I mean, we've experienced this before where we've been awarded a grant and then we've spent money and then the state tells us there's going to be no funding for the grant. The state does weird things like that.
I guess that's really why I asked the question.
But I guess my central point is, if we continue to operate this way in reliance to the grant, at some point, we may have to come back
Exactly.
and say, we need toner, or we need, supplies, or...
This grant ever been audited before?
What's that?
Has this grant been audited in the
Yeah,
past?
yes, so this grant is a reimbursement grant.
Okay.
So all of the paperwork and supporting documentation has to be
Yeah.
submitted to the state 911 department, and believe me, they scrutinize it. They'll cut out pennies if they have to, so,
So we spend it and they reimburse us for it?
yeah.
So if they don't approve it, they just don't reimburse us?
Exactly. Can you give me that total again?
Which one?
292,
The total for the entire budget?
yeah.
296,056.68. $296,056.68.
Thank you.
Is that what you have, Kim?
Mhm.
Thank you. Okay, anything else?
Nope. So there's zero padding in this for an emergency toner. I think I worry about that.
This is, I would say, the budget's tight, but again, we count on the grant money. Again, at some point where we believe there's not gonna be any grant money, then there's gonna have to be a meeting.
Then we have to readjust it like we normally do.
Right.
We either
What are
adjust
our
it in the fall.
priorities,
Exactly.
what's needed.
And when's the grant, when do you have notification that it's approved for the next one?
We usually submit the grant in July, August, sometimes September, and then within a few weeks, we get the approval.
So you know by the October special town meeting whether it was approved or not, if we need to adjust your budget?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
And Chief, the funding comes from 911 circuit.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions for the chief? Finance committee, any questions for the chief? Okay,
I'm free.
you're free.
No, we need you.
Police grant, not police money grant, I wish.
Yeah, how about you, young man?
Yeah. 210. This one's a little longer than the last. What are you asking for, chief?
Well, I thought I'd start walking through the budget form. where some of the increases are identified. So on the first budget form operating increase request, we were looking to decrease the reserve wages. And that reduction is 34,674, I believe.
Why?
Because we're looking at historical data on what we spent on reserves. And let's see, in 2015, we spent 54,600. 2016, 42,468. 2017, 51,833. So we were asking 51,833 for this fiscal year.
What page are you on?
35.
35.
Halfway down the page. Now, does some of that relief because you put more full-time officers on? We're back to our 19 officer complement, or 18 until the academy graduates at year 19? Does that relieve some of that?
I think what's happening is just the way the percentages fall in terms of how many shifts the reserves take versus overtime.
How many reserves do we have now?
I believe we have 7 reserves.
And how many last year?
5 maybe,
And the year before?
5 or 6.
Okay. So are you moving the, well, can we go, I know you hit that increase, but, all right, I'll stay there. So you're increasing the police, additional gross overtime by
Yes.
50. So
Yeah.
you've decreased police reserves and you've increased, overtime. Explain.
All right, so we have a number of shifts that are open. And these shifts that are open are created by vacation time, sick time, holiday leave, etc. So the money that's used to fill these shifts comes out of a pool. That pool consists of part-time officers and full-time officers, okay? When we look at the data, we can see that X number of dollars is needed out of the part-time side, and X number of dollars is needed out of the full-time. And that's based on the reserves availability, how it falls between overtime and part-time. Again, when we looked at the data for the last 3 years, we know what those figures are, and hence, that's why we're asking for the amounts we are in those 2 categories. The other thing to keep in mind is, last 2 years, we had a full-time position funded but not filled, okay, because of certain things that were going on in the background. We were able to use that money, but that money is no longer available because we have hired somebody that's in the academy, etc.
Wouldn't that knock down your overtime, though, when you have less available shifts to be filled?
No, it wouldn't, because he's gonna come in and fill in an opening, okay, so there's 3 people on a shift, and we have somebody that's out, okay, a sergeant that's out probably another 8 or 9 months. Assuming he comes back, then I would like to have somebody serve as a second investigator.
So is that put in this budget?
Yeah, well, is that with that increased
14K.
14K trans officer to detective assignment?
Yes.
So you move that out of police officer 17, and you move that where?
I think I included that in the police payroll schedule for full-time officers.
Cause you see what I'm saying? We went from 1,286,291, you're saying includes 14K for detective assignment, and then you went down to 1,281,323, so part of that's gotta be somewhere else, I just don't know
Yeah,
where.
could
It's
give me-
in holiday worked regular, Carlton. You pulled out 30,876. So that we could have that code for holiday worked regular.
But isn't that the hours that the officers got, by the CBA agreement? They got additional, hours for holiday. I thought that's what that was.
What's the name of the item, line item?
Salary, wages, holidays worked regular.
Okay, holiday work regular, all right.
Yeah, regular, not the, not
All
the
right.
extra.
So when an officer works a holiday, he gets 8 hours holiday worked regular and 4 hours holiday worked overtime. And the reason they have to do that is for purposes of pension, because a pension doesn't rely on overtime, it only relies on base. So they had to bifurcate this, and we have two codes.
Right, but what does that have to do with the detective? Maybe I'm missing something.
No, I'm trying to explain what that is.
Oh, yeah, I got that.
The 30 used to be included in your police officers, permanent full-time.
Oh, so you pulled some of that
Okay.
30 out of there, that's why
Yeah,
that's.
you pulled it out and then you added 14 in.
Okay,
Okay,
thanks, Kim.
so that's a 16,000 net difference.
So out of that 1,286,291 comes out the 30, that goes below, and then we add back in the 14K. Is that what you're saying?
But that should have changed by 16,000, not by $5,000.
Yeah,
So didn't you, so didn't you, maybe not that you do have a general to do that one? Or did that come from? I don't think so. I think it came from out here. So you moved it down here, but you did increase by 14.
The math is what's off there. He's increased by,
Yeah, you know, I did this a while ago.
Right, there's still additional increase in there.
right,
but-
because it should have been 16,000 less. The net 30 minus 14, 16,000 should have been the net difference, and it's $5,000.
So what should the figure
It
be?
was 1286, 391, and he's asking for 1281, $5,000, roughly $5,000 net difference. But if you took 30,000 out of that budget and increased it by 14, it should be a $16,000 net difference.
So what should it be?
We don't know yet.
We don't know yet.
I mean, because overall, you only went up.
Can we revisit that
Yeah.
later?
We'll-
That's fine, because I
because,
have, I'm sure we all
We'll put a
have
little
more
asterisk
questions.
next to that one.
All right, and the gross overtime holiday went down by 3 because what, you moved it to the,
Because it was being assessed to the wrong account.
maybe it needs to be in that with that 30. Maybe that was part of that.
That's not gonna change that info.
Okay.
I think that went up by, the next one went up by 8. So you just have to look at,
Yeah, I'll try to figure that out.
give it the old college try and see how we make out.
mean that the gross annual,
Yeah,
gross
that,
additional,
that changed by 8,000.
it changed by 8 because they're asking for a mandated additional training day.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's the training one, right? I'm sorry.
yeah.
Overtime training. There, right. Longevity went down.
State police sort of went down.
Yeah, it went down.
And then, we have, include $600 to establish a safety officer assignment with stipend.
Yeah, so, I mean, we had a number of meetings on bicycle safety, people expressing their concerns,
People?
and so I thought, well, you know, we don't have anybody embedded at the school that not only can talk about bicycle safety, but could probably talk about stranger, danger, could talk about some drugs, could talk a little bit about school violence, maybe establish a bicycle rodeo. Nothing real heavy, I mean, we're dealing with the elementary school, but I thought that, you know, that would be a good relationship to establish.
What's your repairs and maintenance vehicles? What are you doing here for 5,000 additional?
Yeah, so, I guess we have one or
I
two,
was just going on.
one or two paths to follow. This year, the costs were substantial, replacing engines, rear suspensions of vehicles. So we can either increase in anticipated happening next year, or we could leave last year's figure, and if we get into the red, we can approach the finance committee for a reserve transfer. But either way.
I'm sorry, I skipped one. I skipped a couple. You want to ask about training stipends, Lisa, or do you want to ask about the police and service training?
So the police and service training up by 62.
Yeah.
Are you increasing the amount of trainings, or?
So what happened on veteran in-service training, the Mass Police Training Council has now required an additional day, a mandated one additional day of training for all officers.
So that's what this is? The increase is an extra training day?
Yep.
I thought we had that somewhere else.
Yeah,
in the
it's up at the top, though. Is that two different things, or?
There may be two different things.
'Cause one
There's another
says-
training for,
Mandated additional training day to annual in-service requirement. That's overtime in-service training.
But it's under that heading, but I'm wondering if it's in the wrong place.
Maybe there's no explanation included what it usually is.
Right.
all right, so one of them, I believe, is at over, let's see.
It looks like you increase it almost the same amount.
Are you talking about the training stipends?
No, you
No.
have 7978 under police additional gross overtime training, and you put for mandated additional training day to annual in-service requirement. And then you have the police in-service training down the bottom with no comment, but you have an increase, which I'm gonna do the math on to see what it is for right now. Do you know what the increase is, Kim?
You lost me.
All right, on page 36 at the top, there's an increase in the budget by about $8,000. And it says, a comment says, that's under police additional gross overtime. The comment says includes $79.78 for mandated additional training day due to annual in-service requirement.
Yeah.
At the bottom of the page, there's also another increase of about,
4183.
yeah. And we just asked what that increase was in, there's no,
No comment to tell us why.
but poor Carlton's all over the place, because he doesn't have a table to work off of.
So the 7978 is for the additional day of in-service training, reflected in the,
The overtime account.
right, additional growth. So that's that. 4183, where are you seeing that now?
So at the bottom of the page,
Same page at the bottom.
says police in-service training, and you went from 12,545 to 16,728.
Okay, so that's reserves. The reserves are also mandated to have one additional training day by the MPTC.
Okay. That's okay. Happens all the time.
No, it was just that the totals were off by $1. 748, 526.96. If you subtract out the 7978, it's $1. Anyways, where are we? You did the police and service training. Are you satisfied with this explanation?
I'm just gonna keep going
Go
here.
ahead. Charlie, if you see anything, feel free. Yep.
So we already talked about police vehicles, maintenance and repairs.
Right. That's 5,000. Next increase would be police meetings and training seminars.
Okay. So, if the town is going to consider in-house candidates for the position of chief of police, then it needs to start getting these people ready. It's about $950 per student, times 3 sergeants to attend command training series. That's for mid-level management. Then the year after, it's upper-level management. In the meantime, we bring in the remaining 2 sergeants and, bring them through the program.
So the 2850 is just for the first 3
That's
to do
correct.
mid-level training? Any other questions?
What kind of mid-level training is that?
So that's a program that spans, quite a few weeks. They come in and they learn about supervisory and management skills, public information, labor relations, budgeting, all of those.
Not bad stuff to have.
No, I think that's really important, and what I would envision is, after they come back with that training, and at some point, if the board, chooses an inside candidate, then I would have the opportunity to spend considerable time with that candidate and walk them through every single phase of police operations. Hey, how do you handle a bill? What do you do with the invoice? What are the red flags? What are the parameters? I'd move over to labor relations, grievances and impact bargaining, you know, anything you can think of. But I think they need the basis to kind of understand what all of this is about. Because our sergeants, who are very capable, have not been exposed to preparing budgets. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And although they're good at managing people, you know, what about ultimate discipline and discharge, you know? How about, you know, hey, you got this great idea you want to implement, well, can you? Does it require impact bargaining? Is it decisional bargaining? Is it just management rights? Well, if it's management rights under Chapter 150E, you still have to impact bargain thing. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of, there's a lot to it.
It's more of a transition from policing, which they're doing now, more towards staffing and the clerical side of it, what the executive side of it.
Yeah, yeah. And I, you know, I obviously would like to see some good people from our department considered, but I'd like to get them up to the level where you, as a board, will feel comfortable.
Okay. Thank you.
You're just gonna bring back that one thing you said you were
Yes.
gonna look at? Okay, perfect.
So you know, almost 20 years ago when I was in here, I didn't have glasses. So you know, I'm losing my sight. I had brown hair, it's all gray now.
I had hair 20 years ago. Go with gray.
Do you guys have any questions?
Doesn't shine in the sun, and the light. I think that's it for budgets.
That's it.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks,
Okay
Chief.
with that budget?
Thank you.
What, that's his, we'll discuss the budget in
Yeah,
detail.
we're not gonna vote on anything.
This, we just get his recommendations and why.
We got his wants. He's smiling.
But you got what you need.
Just do your presentation and go through the process.
There's a great philosopher, Mick Jagger once said.
Right.
A few minutes, go with a few.
Okay, back to,
Oh, wait, here, do you wanna, can you do the reserve fund transfer?
absolutely. While you're here, we have a reserve fund transfer.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe. Reserve fund transfer, 31518, amount of $393.12 from the tree warden. Looks like his present balance is negative $393 to $127. $393.12. Covered the deficit in personnel is due to increased work by tree warden for storm damage. Do I have a motion from the board?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion to forward to the finance committee is made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. There's another one.
And
Let us take a vote on that one. We can vote on that one.
Yeah, so you wanna take it right now so you can vote on it? Yeah, get it out of the way.
Okay, so somebody want to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve the transfer.
All in favor?
Aye.
we have a second one for reserve fund transfer for the amount of $1,288.80 by the tree warden. Present balance of the account would now be zero. To cover 60 hours of additional work needed for cleanup from the winter storms by the tree warden at his rate of $21.48 an hour. So he does the math out, it's $1,288.80. Do I have a motion?
Make that motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to send it to the finance committee. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And these are separate requests that came in between,
Yeah,
after one storm and then after another? or-
Well, the 393 he was in deficit of 393.
Yeah.
That brought him to zero, and now he wants to go and do additional
Yeah.
cleanup that's left over from the storm, which he's figuring at being the 60 hours.
Okay, take a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right, you guys have it? Do you have it? Here you go. Is in there? Okay.
Jump all over this agenda.
No, you're good.
Sign agreement with the town of Middleborough, administrated by Middleborough Permanent Cable Committee effective January 1st, 2018 through December 31st, 2018.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Well, just because I don't know anything about it. We having a new cable company or a new, what is that?
No, we just renewed the contract we currently have for one more year, and then we'll discuss what our options are next year.
Also, the same people are going?
Yep,
still-
so Lynn will
nothing's
still be
changed.
here to do the, government side, and then Lake Cam will do the school side of it.
Oh, okay.
Discuss, vote, and allow myself as the representative of the regional FinCom for the stabilization article. You want to explain a little bit about it, David, or do you want me to?
The school had proposed that they implement a stabilization account to offset sped increases that have been coming down the line, and as a way to have money in reserve so that they don't have to keep coming back to us for that reason. And I believe that the amount was $250,000.
Combined between the two,
Yeah.
yes, it's only for Freetown would be 104,000, I can break it up.
109.
109,000. This doesn't change, from what we were told at the last meeting, this doesn't change his budget request at all. It's whether if it stays where it is now, it'd be in special ed. If he doesn't use it, it would kick over to E&D. If he does, that would be the way it's set up now. If this goes through, that would be earmarked only for special education. If they needed to tap into that money, he would have to come back to the two towns and ask for permission to do it.
They come back to the board.
To the board, to the two boards.
Actually, so actually the bottom line, I don't have it with me. Actually, the bottom line, you can reduce their bottom line by $109,000, because it's double reflected in the budget, so in that budget, the 109, which includes the 250, is in that budget to set up the stabilization fund. If you subtract it out, whatever, it's just for E&D, it's not to set up a separate account. So that bottom line right there can be reduced by $109,000 to start off with, if we decide not to do the stabilization account.
The way he portrayed it at the last regional FinCom meeting was, his budget would not change. The 109,000 would kick up into what he would propose for spending on the sped account. And if he didn't spend it, it would kick over to E&D. Because I specifically asked him that. So,
I called him and asked him today.
okay, so if we don't go with that, it's gonna come down by 109,000?
Mhm.
Okay.
They're going to put money from the proposed budget into a stabilization fund, or is the stabilization fund going to be in addition to the proposed budget?
So he included it, from what I understand, he included it in the budget. So the stabilization fund is included in the budget. If the town decides not to do it, we can subtract the 109,000 out, and then Lakeville would subtract the remaining balance of the 250. So the way I look at it is like, if you leave it in there, you're giving them a stabilization account, and then whatever's left over out of the budget, you're giving them an E&D account. That's how, if you take the 109 out, whatever's left over is left over. It doesn't change the way we've ever done business. That's
Correct.
how I look at it.
So, I'm just a little confused then. Is they referring to this as a stabilization fund? Is this money going to go from year to year in the stabilization fund, or is it gonna be turned into the E&D account at the end of the year?
No, it'd stay in stabilization.
Okay,
And if it was used out of stabilization, they would come back to bring it back to the 250.
right, okay, all right, so.
Right,
So
so,
they, just so I clear my own mind, they want a stabilization fund for any special needs.
Above and beyond what they
over
budgeted.
What they budget for. And they just wanna keep it at that from year to year. So this will become a quote-unquote permanent stabilization fund of, in the end, X number of dollars. Right now, $250. And it wouldn't go to the E&D at the end of the year.
Correct.
Okay.
The way it's set up now, anything that's over,
Right.
because they're a regional school, they can go into the E&D, and then they can spend that E&D on whatever they need to spend it on.
right, whether it be special ed or a
New
car
bus or
or
something,
whatever.
Right.
And they don't need to come to us anymore unless it gets to a
Right.
certain level below, then,
To spend the E&D.
right,
Correct.
they don't need to, yeah,
And the sum is prorated, right?
right,
Okay.
according to, population, school population.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
But this is an additional amount that we'll be funding.
Well, nothing's in stone here. This is
No,
what they're
but
asking for. They're asking
if
for an
we give it
additional
to them.
$109,000 to set up the stabilization account,
Right, if we give it to them, that's additional money over and above
what they're asking
what
for.
they're asking.
That's what Lisa's saying, yes.
Is that right?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
My meeting that was scheduled for tomorrow was canceled. So I haven't heard back from Mr.
Really?
Owen. I guess there's something else going on. You won't have a quorum.
The committee that you're talking about is the regional committee?
Regional FinCom, yes.
Wait, the budget hearing was canceled for tomorrow night?
No, the regional FinCom meeting was canceled.
Oh.
It's one of our members that normally goes.
Yeah,
you
Ken.
know, Ken is the, so, we'd like to get Craig on that board. So if you could let him know when, what, and how.
I don't know how that works. How does that work? Does that have to get approved by,
I don't know
The
how
full
that
board?
works, I don't know how that works.
I don't know. We'll have to find out how to do that.
So, will you be able to do that?
We'll send school committee a letter, an email.
Yeah.
Technically, it's a subcommittee of the school committee.
Right.
Because that's, okay,
I would just say it would be a change in, I guess Kent doesn't wanna do it
Representation.
anymore,
well,
or,
right now, he's disabled,
Mhm.
so I don't know how long he's gonna be disabled.
So you just wanna get another person in there in the meantime?
Sit in the seat until
Right,
he comes
yeah,
back.
I think you would just send, an email to the superintendent and tell him that you need to have a change, cause, you know,
Okay. But what I'm saying, I have no idea who to contact and when this board meets. What information do we need for Craig so that he knows who to talk to, when to go? How does he get notified that there's a meeting and all of that? Right
Well,
now.
once he gets put on the board, then he would get an email to say when it's set up and if he can make it and that kind of stuff. We get notified by email.
And how do we get him on the board?
so I would assume that you would have an agenda, and on your agenda, you would have to have a line item saying that vote on new member for the regional finance committee. Then you would vote on that and submit his name to the superintendent.
Would be the superintendent, would be the,
And he would give the name to the,
School
chair of the, yeah, I mean, everything goes through there.
Could you get me the information when the meetings are, so at least we could attend the meeting?
I don't know right now when it is. It was supposed to be for tomorrow. It was canceled. I haven't got an email yet with the new date.
If you go on.
He asked me about a couple of dates, not just me, but he asked us about a couple of dates, and nothing's been finalized.
If you go on the district website, there's a calendar, and I think you can probably pull it off of the calendar. So it's www.freelake.org.
Free Lake?
Free Lake.
Free Lake, yeah. At least it'll say like upcoming meetings and you know what I mean? So at least you'll know ahead of time. But I don't know when they have them, and I don't know when they're canceled.
Our next scheduled meeting is May 3rd, but he's trying to come up with a date. He gave us a couple of dates, the 11th and the 18th, and then he added the 10th as an option too. So I sent back my preferences, so do the other members, which I don't see. We can't communicate because that'd be open meeting law violation, and then the chair will set up a date for the next meeting. But it is scheduled, a firm scheduled date is the May 3rd, I think it said. May 3rd. That's a high school in the library at, I believe we meet at 6:30. 30 on that one. We're off the agenda here. Discuss, yeah, we did that. So do we have anything, do we want to make a motion or anything for that?
I'll make the motion to allow you to vote. If that's the consent.
How would you like them to vote?
That's more the question is. I have to vote, it's just, do you want me to say
All right,
yes for
yeah,
the stabilization and no for the stabilization to stay the way it is?
Yeah, I would say to vote yes. Okay. Is that consensus of the
Do
board?
you want to have a discussion about that? That's what we were discussing.
Okay, well, I think it's probably gotta be something that's gotta be a good little safety valve. I see that it's more per student than was in originally. So, I mean, I'm not, gonna be in the opinion, I'm not think that negative, I think it's a good way of handling the situation with the special ed, because they don't know from year to year how many people they're gonna have.
Right, but they could just take it out of E&D.
Well,
And if it goes over E&D, then they come back to the
Yeah.
towns and ask for additional funding.
Right,
Well,
so you're
I don't-
gonna
I don't
supply the
understand.
250, plus you're
Well-
gonna give them whatever's in E&D.
well, but my understanding is that once they have a budget, they can't come back to the town like mid-year. That's my understanding of the budget.
I don't know about that, they could come to us in October. The problem is they just start in September, so to have the numbers for October meeting is tight.
Yeah.
And anything after that, they would have
My
to, we'd have
understanding
some
is
kind
they
of.
can't come back. Once they have a budget, they
Well,
can't come
exactly,
back.
so if that 250 goes down, then because you made a separate line item, if that 250 goes down, then they can come back. If they're just taking it out of E&D, they can't come back, because that's their whole budget.
Correct. They have to use
If you
E&D.
lower if that line item goes down and they come back, you have to, because you voted to fund that at a certain amount of money. So if it goes down, you have, from my understanding, you have to fund that. If you just leave it up to E&D, you don't have to fund that, it's because whatever's left over at the end of the year is what they're gonna use.
If E&D is not, I mean, right now, that's what, basically, consumption of E&D is extra sped money.
Right.
If that's not there, that budget will be able to grow, and there'll be no check in that budget, because that's just leftover money that doesn't come back to the town in any way.
Well,
The town sees no savings in it if we don't, unable to use it.
It was my understanding also that one of the reasons they wanted to create stabilization was because the E&D wasn't as high as it had normally been in the past. And this was another sort of circuit breaker in case, they had extraordinary sped costs during the upcoming year.
What is the difference between doing this new account versus putting more money in E&D?
Well, you can't put money into E&D. E&D is what is left over at the end of the year, the budget. Any money that's left over goes into that account. And they're only allowed to do that because they're a regional school committee, So that leftover money, then they get to use that on funding for the next budget. So what they end up doing is, if there's a shortfall because they budget for a certain amount of kids in special needs, and more kids come into the system, they use that money to offset that. This would say you don't have to use that for that, that you'll have to use this first and use all this up, and then when this gets depleted, they'll come back and try to get more money in that, and not use their E&D for that at all. Right now, the town sees a savings because whatever's left over, they have to use that up. They have to use that money first. Where now, if we don't do that, this will be there, and that money, we'll never see that savings. That money will just grow in there until they decide to use it on whatever they decide to use it on.
All right, then my suggestion would be is that we get a formal written explanation of all that they want to do with this stabilization, because I'm a little confused in that. Okay, if the stabilization fund is for special education.
That's-
overrun.
That's all.
Okay. Now, if they want to, now are they gonna always go to that, or are they gonna go to E&D first?
No, they
Because
go to that.
well, okay, if that's the case, I'd like to see like a written explanation. I'd like to see a written explanation of what their plan for this is, because if we're gonna continue this, and then E&D gets up to, say, $3 million, then do we need this?
Well, there is a cap. They can only carry a certain percentage of their total budget in E&D.
Right.
What's it, 2%?
I think it's 5%.
Is it that high, is it 5%? But they do have a $37 million budget, so you're talking $1.5 million plus that
So
they could
can
carry.
we assume this stabilization money would be used, say we had to place a child out of district, say?
Yes.
Okay. And that's an unforeseen circumstance.
He has to budget for that, but if it comes in after his
Correct.
budget's submitted,
How do you know?
that would kick into that.
All right.
The way he's doing it right now, E&D
I
would
mean,
be
that
used
makes
for that.
total sense.
So
You
E&D,
can't anticipate.
right, so before, he'd have E&D, right? So say
Right.
he had $1 million in E&D, he would just grab it out of E&D.
Mm-hmm.
So now to set up this separate stabilization account, he would grab it from there. Once that goes down to a certain level,
We replenish.
we would have to replenish.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And this requires town meeting vote. This is a multiple step process. There'll be, what, 3 articles for this on town meeting?
I haven't seen them, I don't know.
So it's not just,
One is to
we do
create,
it.
one is to fund.
One is create, one is, I thought there was 3, but it might not be. So this isn't, we don't make that decision today. That decision will be made at town meeting floor if we go ahead and give our support to it.
Okay. Thank you.
So in essence, you're funding the stabilization and the other one.
There was at the last, what was the last one? I think it was, FinCom, a motion to make it so they had to spend it out of, they could not touch E&D for sped. That motion failed. So they could still use E&D for sped.
So you fund that stabilization at $250, right? You have a child that's $450. You're gonna take the $250 and then you're gonna come
Still
back to
negative.
back to the town to get the additional funding. Whereas if it just was in stabilization, you would just use that $450.
You mean E&D?
E&D, right, sorry, yes, I'm tired.
I know what All right,
You have a
So-
motion?
I have a motion, there was no second. Is there a second?
Well, I'll remove the motion, but are we not allowing you to vote if we allow you to vote, we'll say if we allow you to vote yes, that brings the matter to the town meeting through the budgetary process and through the articles.
Correct.
If you
If
vote
there's
no,
a motion made at Regional FinCom to go forward with it, I would be mandated by this board to vote yes to allow it to go to town meeting floor, or no, depending on how the board votes.
well,
And it would just be one vote. That doesn't mean the other
Right.
votes, one negative and everything else passes and would still go to town meeting floor, no matter what this board thinks.
Do you have to go to town meeting for this?
Yes. And we couple out of.
No, unless if the board votes no, then it's dead.
Oh, I
Then
see.
neither town goes forward with it, it just dies.
This board votes no?
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was,
I like to get a
clearance, clearance. Okay.
Because
with
our
seeming-
recommendation.
I'm groping in the
would be
dark
no.
here right now, because I understand the issue, but, I wanna see it on paper, their plan, and then we can, discuss it a little bit more thoroughly. I'd like to see it a little bit more of an explanation, more than in writing, than anything else.
I understand it.
Okay.
You've been the liaison, so I'll follow your lead on that. Charlie, call him tomorrow and sit down and talk to him.
Well, yeah, okay, well.
We'll hold this over to the next meeting, how's that?
Yeah,
You know,
that's fine.
And we can
We
get some
have
clarification.
we have no real information
Okay.
on the,
Why don't we hold this over to the next meeting, we'll get
Let
some
me-
clarification.
Let me just say for the record, he did say he would be here tonight, but
Right.
we didn't think, well, I asked, and we,
You did mention that to me.
Yeah,
so
and-
don't-
it
So
wasn't-
if we need him for the next meeting, we can, if you wanna get contact with him and clear it for yourself, you
Yeah,
can. If
okay.
you want something in writing, we can do that too.
okay, but my question is also, if we vote no not to allow you to, or you know, to vote no, then the issue dies. Is that my,
Well, this is only asking for permission to vote at the regional FinCom.
Right,
This isn't
I
the
understand
the town's vote currently.
right, I understand that. My question here is gotta be this, if we vote yes, we're only allowing it, if you vote yes, and that's, the yes is the majority, then it goes before the townspeople.
Then it would, actually would come back to these two boards, and the boards would put it before the townspeople on
Okay.
articles.
Right. If you vote no, and no is the majority, then that issue dies. Is that my,
I'm not sure if the issue dies. As far as I'm concerned, this is only a vote for the regional
reason I'm
FinCom.
saying that
The
the-
regional FinCom is making a recommendation to the school committee.
mhm.
That's all this vote is for, is for that. So if it votes no to make a recommendation to the, that doesn't mean the school committee takes that recommendation. We're only a
Okay.
subcommittee of the school committee.
Okay.
So it would be up to the entire school committee whether they want to bring it back to these boards and ask these boards to put it on their town
so the reason
meeting.
why I'm saying it would die, Charlie, is if, it would be represented as a warrant article.
Uh-huh.
And if our board decided we didn't want it
Down
as a
the line.
warrant article, it would die. It wouldn't go forward, because we wouldn't put it on, so then Lakeville would put it on, but, my understanding is that they wouldn't, and it would just die.
But
That's my understanding.
This, what, on the agenda right now is just a vote in the regional FinCom,
Right.
whether the regional FinCom recommends it to the full school committee. They don't they don't have to take our recommendation. We're just a subcommittee that's recommending or not recommending an action. This doesn't kill it at this level for the town. This is just a recommendation to the regional FinCom, is all this is for. The school committee can still, the school committee is in favor of this, the regional, I don't think is, but that vote hasn't been taken. If we want to pass it over, we just pass it over.
Right. You guys don't need us anymore, because we want to get together. and-
Adjourn,
Yeah,
and we're good to go.
absolutely.
No, we'll adjourn to the other room and,
So we're not taking any action on that for now, right? Okay, town administrator's report.
Okay. First thing off, I want to recognize all the members of the council, cultural council for the hugely successful Easter hunt, pig hunt on Saturday. It was a fun event for both the kids and adults alike. Kevin, Lori, Ally, Tim, Kim, Pam, Derek, and Chandler, as well as all the other volunteers from the fire department, did a great job putting on this event for the town, as well as the sponsors, which were Republic, Stop and Shop, Texas Roadhouse, and the police and fire department. So we're appreciative of the fact that they put this event together, and the kids had a great time. I was there, and I witnessed it, and what an awesome event. Second thing, we are going to be hosting the regional managers meeting on April 11th. We actually got permission from Airgas to use their conference room for the meeting, because we had difficulty finding a place that we could hold a luncheon at. We're going to use Panera as our catering source. The IT survey is going out this week. We've been working on the job descriptions for employees that don't have job descriptions or have inadequate job descriptions. Tim and Ally have both been great in terms of helping us put that together. I spoke to Attorney Gay about the land next to the fire station and the possibility of acquiring that, and I'm hoping to have a proposal to share with the board later this month. The diocese has spoken to Attorney Gay, and they are going to be bringing something forth so that if we have an article on town meeting to potentially buy that property. The pile of legislation, as I shared with the board, has passed the Senate. I spoke to Representative Viola today regarding the House version on reading 3, and she's going to get back to me with some information on that. The Home Consortium, which was supposed to come in actually at the next meeting, is going to be put on at the end of the month. And they want to make a presentation on housing rehab grants as well as their loan program. We have a finance team meeting scheduled for Monday, April 9th. We're meeting with the financial advisors on the OPEB benefits, and there will be an article on the town meeting to create a trust for the OPEB. And that's about it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Discuss opening the articles for insertion at special town meeting and the annual town meeting warrants. We need to come up with some dates.
We put together, Alan put together a little breakout in terms of what happened last year. We opened the warrant on April 5th, we closed it on the 24th. We're recommending that we follow the same schedule by opening it Wednesday, April 4th, and then closing it on the 25th. Proposing that the next meetings after the 25th are May 7th and the 21st, which gives you time gives us time to prepare the warrant and go over it with the council in time for the town meeting. The drop dead date to have the warrant finalized is May 21st, and we'd like, actually this has a warrant, needs to be posted no later than the 18th, so obviously we need to have those 2 meetings to discuss what we're going to do and have those articles finalized so that they can be reviewed by council. So,
Make a motion to open the warrant article for Wednesday, April 4th, and close on Wednesday, April 25th at 4.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and seconded to open the warrant Wednesday, April 4th, close it April 25th at 4 p.m. Is that correct?
yeah.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Personnel Board.
Two requests for appointments.
You have 2 appointments, yep.
One is for Sarah Viola, the other is Christy Dilfort, to the Library Planning Committee. It's recommended by Lucille Rosa, Chairman of the Library Trustees.
All right.
Make a motion to approve both Sarah Valero and Christy Dufort.
To the Library Planning Committee. I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I'd like to go through the chair and ask that we have an update from the Library Planning Committee, because I don't know what they're planning.
Well,
I got a feeling they're planning something.
the building, they had that building committee of their own.
Yeah, where are they on that though? And-
Yeah,
The 2020 grant cycle and all that stuff.
yes.
I actually did have a meeting with Lucille about a week ago. She is interested in starting a library foundation, which I guess is different from the individual Friends of the Library, and she's going to be requesting some time on the agenda at some point in the future to discuss that with the board.
Okay. New business. Dates of upcoming Board of Selectmen's meeting: Tuesday, April 17th, Monday, May 7th, Monday, May 21st, annual special town meeting, June 4th, Monday, June 18th, Monday, July 2nd, Monday, July 16th, Monday, August 6th, and Monday, August 20th.
Make a motion to not have Monday, July 2nd.
I don't think you needed this motion.
No. How about we not have the 4th of July week, seeing
Okay.
You
my
want it-
daughter's getting married on July 1st, and I will not be there that week.
Do we
But no,
wanna-
it's not the only reason. We usually take 4th of July week off.
Do we want to move it down one?
No.
No.
No, you don't.
If we need it,
No,
we
then
can
we'll
pop
be
it
on
in.
schedule.
Two years ago, we were actually a little slow, so we took a meeting off in August.
Yeah, which will help.
I doubt we will. All right, executive session, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the town hall, library, highway union, firefighters union, signal operators, and Freetown Police Union and Educators Association of Freetown because an open meeting law may have a detrimental effect on bargaining position of a public body, and this chair so declares. Do I have a motion to enter into executive session?
Second.
We will not be returning into open session.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Mrs. Pacheco, Mr. Sullivan?
Aye.
Mr. Joes, yes.
Clarification, regarding,